Good morning. Welcome back to Brighter Morning with Bo. And we are on to our second guest, Mr. Dennis Pulchan, who is the Commissioner of Prisons of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have some serious developments taking place with prison officers, and we want to talk with him a little bit and get some information and enlightenment about what is happening. So we now welcome the Commissioner of Prisons. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning to you, Mr. Tiwari. I'm pretty okay. Thank you.
Will you lift the volume, please?
The volume?
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on the program. I know there was a press conference yesterday by some of your officers in which they expressed a certain amount of alarm, and they called on the Prime Minister to intervene. And last night, I think that there was a shooting in El Dorado involving a police officer. And of course, yesterday, somebody was shot and killed on the streets in San Fernando. What is happening with prison officers and in the prison system that is leading to this kind of development?
Okay. First thing, I want to say that on Friday, one of our officers got shot in Valencia and died. Then we saw a repeat of that took place on Monday, where another officer up in Siparia, walking with his 3-year-old child, was assaulted, shot, and killed. Last night, around 7:30 p.m., another officer, prisons officer, was at his home in El Dorado when a heavily tinted vehicle pulled in front of his house and opened fire on him. Luckily, last night, the officer was armed and returned fire on the two perpetrators, and they dropped their firearms and escaped. The officer was not hurt. There was a police officer standing nearby who got shot in his hand. So this is the situation as it stands right now. As it stands, there is a blatant attack against the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service by perpetrators unknown. Are you there?
Yes. No, I'm listening to you. I thought you were continuing. You have these two prison officers who were killed this week. You had the attempt to execute another prison officer last night. What is happening? How many prison officers have you lost in the last decade, the last 10 years?
We would have lost 28 officers who were murdered as a result of the prison, working in the prison, because these are officers who are, and I look at their names and look at their style of working. I am a prison officer for the last 38 years, and I can tell you these are straightforward officers who are dedicated to the prison service, who are dedicated to their jobs and doing a fine job. So they stand up against criminality in every single way. There are individuals within the prison service, there are gang members in the prison service who are inmates. They will like to continue their action from behind prison walls. My officers are stopping this. My officers are moving people. My officers are searching people and retrieving their phones from them. So it's an uphill battle. And for doing your job, these officers are killed.
Okay, so, these 28, I don't know if you included the two this week in the decade.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? Right. So these 28 officers, you would say, are good performing officers who have been involved in law enforcement in the prisons and enforcing the prison rules. And as a result, they have paid for this with their lives. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct.
Now, how many of these 28 murders that have been committed against prison officers have had a resolution? In other words, how many cases have been brought against perpetrators for those 28 murders in the 10 years since they've happened?
I believe there may be about 4 arrests made on individuals who are suspected and charges brought against them, but the matter have not reached the court as yet. So they are still in the remand prison awaiting the courts.
So you have 28 murders of prison officers operating in the prison system over a 10-year period, and you only have 4 crimes out of the 28 that have actually been solved and gotten to the point where somebody is charged. And these 4 charges brought against those people have not made their way to court and been resolved. How long have these 4 people been in remand yard?
There for about 4 years now. There's one there about 8 years now. So, and that's one of our situations that we are facing in the prison service, because at the end of the day, the speed at which the criminal justice system, the judiciary operates at, leave a lot to be desired, because justice delayed is justice denied. So we in the prison service have a total population of about 3,500 inmates. Of these 3,500 inmates, 65% of them are remanded inmates awaiting their matter before the court. So we have a 35% rate of inmates that are within our prison that are convicted. So the conviction rate is really 1/3. And these are for small offenses. Of that 65% that we have in the remand prison, I would say about 80% of them are within our prison institution for the last 6 to 8 years. So we evidently have seen a bottleneck.
Yeah, well, it's more than a bottleneck. There is a structural problem with the justice system. I want to say this. You have prisoners, 3,500 prisoners in the prison system. 1/3 of these are convicted prisoners who are serving their time. 2/3 of them are prisoners who are waiting to go to the court and receive justice. Isn't that a situation that is cause for combustion?
It's a situation for great concern, because these 65% of the inmates that within our prison works nowhere and have lack of funding. So they are looking for ways and means to create funding. These are done by several ways. That is why there's a growth in criminality in prison. Some gangs operate from within the prison walls to create wealth to fight their cases. Shots are called from prisons to even towards witnesses in matters. So some of these things happen, and one would say that why would a prisoner attack an officer? But if an officer seeks to seize the cell phone, which is the tool of trade, that officer is targeted, because the inmate, some inmates, mind you, not all, there are some inmates who are so powerful that they would like to continue their criminal behavior behind prison wall. This is unacceptable. The Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service is an arm of the criminal justice system. Right? Our job is to reduce criminality and protect the protection of society. And this just cannot happen under our watch.
But you have a situation there where these people are put into prison, and there is an injustice because they are put in the remand yard and the case is not heard. But they are really operating there with impunity. And basically, they see the prison officers who interfere with their business because they are conducting business in prison as the enemy. They can then call a shot on the prison officer. They have enough connections inside. How do they get these cell phones in the first place? And I mean, since I was a minister, I remember I raised this on many occasions. It was a state of emergency during my time, and I raised this in one of the over and over in the meetings. Why can't we deal with this cell phone situation? What is the problem? I heard, I'm afraid to say what some of the officers said around the table here in the public domain. But it all was, in my view, excuses and misinformation as far as I'm concerned. And it told me that there was something awfully wrong with the prison system and awfully wrong with the way the prison system is compromised by these criminal elements who have jurisdiction over communication, information, power and control in the police service, and more than that, connections outside in which they run their business empire from inside the prison walls. Now, how is that able to continue for so long under the eyes of prison officers, under the knowledge of the law enforcement system, and under the knowledge of successive ministers of national security and chiefs of police in the police system?
Say that I hear you, and your comments are very valid. However, I'm a prison officer, 38 years, and it's an uphill fight for us. We do have in our fold some recalcitrant type officers. We have arrested 18 officers between last year and now under my stewardship. We have developed systems in place. We have created search units that searches everybody coming into the prison. So, I mean, it is not a matter of not to make an effort to get things done. We are making an effort to get things done. We have purchased equipment to help us identify and find it. But one cell phone in the system is one too much. We are now grappling with another problem where we have seen cell phones are dropped in prison through drones. Drones come into the prison at different times. So we are even, the technology is beating us right now. While we are searching officers and vehicles coming into the prison and even inmates, we see a new phenomenon develop where drones are entering our prison. And it's a no-fly zone. And delivering packages. We have captured some drones. And we had done some tracing on them and discovered some intel from those drones. And that has been pursued by a separate agency. You know, and but it is what it is. And you know, we are doing what we can. We are prosecuting officers. We are asking officers to close ranks. I know the association is very concerned and have expressed some of their concerns. But we are working with all agencies, to bring an end to this problem or a solution to this problem. Because we just cannot have our officers dying on us. These are men and women who come to the prison service to do a job. Not to hurt people, but to do a job. And there are inmates who are hell-bent on maintaining their criminality at any cost. And if these officers do what they're supposed to do, all of them, we will not have a problem. But there are some who will, and there are some who don't. And that is the reality of a situation.
Yeah, well, I am very concerned that there are 21 murders of prison officers.
28, sir.
28.
28.
28 murders of prison officers. and only 4 crimes have had criminals brought charges against them. So that means that out of the 28, there are 24 unsolved murders. And I would think that something like this requires a special task force, if people are interested in the police service, to look at these 28 cases, the 4 in which prisoners have been taken and are in prison, so that they can be expedited and brought to court and they can receive justice and the matter can be settled. But more than that, the other 24 of the 28 need to be properly investigated. I cannot think of someone making a commitment to work for the state to look after the prison system, and that person dies and there is no follow-up by the law enforcement authorities. Doesn't the police service have an interest in ensuring that other members who are arms of the law receive justice if they are executed during their duty? I mean, I'm very, very concerned about this, and I want to call on the Minister of National Security to get to the Deputy Commissioner of Police and to set up a task force within the police service to deal with these 28 murders. I mean, you cannot have this thing going on in this way. If nobody else has dealt with it before, fine. I mean, I don't want any excuses and I don't want any blame. I want a solution. Why don't they set up the system to go after these 28 cases and to find the perpetrators of these crimes? The other thing I'm concerned about, Commissioner, is your own safety. How long have you been Commissioner? And if you are doing these things now to correct the system, you have to be in a lot of danger.
You are absolutely right. I have pledged my life. I have pledged my life to the Trinidad and Tobago Society. I'm a public officer, and I serve the Trinidad and Tobago Society. And I'm dedicated in what I do. There are threats against me, but I'm not going to let that swerve me from doing my job. At the end of the day, I have decided 38 years ago to serve the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. And I will not falter in my duty. I will not step back in my duty. I will go forward. I believe that life and death is controlled by God and not man. And with that tenacity, I will go forward and do what I need to be done to serve my organization and bring this situation to resolve as quickly as we can.
How long have you been Commissioner?
I have been Commissioner since January 28th of 2020.
Yeah, that's what I
It's
thought. It's a relatively short time. And so a lot of the problems precede your ascendancy to the office. And
Yes,
if you are trying to correct some of those wrongs now, if you are trying to deal with some of the problems, and you have these strong criminals in the prison system, and you have these corrupt officers in the prison system, and you have a security problem in the prison, which is now complicated by drones, which you have to track, then it seems to me that you have a very, very large and deep problem, and that you are really in danger and your officers, your good officers, are all of them in danger because they are really upsetting the apple cart with this corrupt system that is the prison system that predates your existence as Commissioner. Can you comment on that?
Well, I could not coin that phrase even better than you did. And I could say that, it's corrupted, but at the end of the day, the longest journey starts with one step. So we are making that step. And I must say that my recent meetings with the Deputy Commissioner of Police and the Minister, I have hope. I do have hope because I am getting the assistance from all levels in the Ministry of National Security. Because at the end of the day, this is not really a prison situation. It's a national security issue. The citizens are dying for doing their jobs. So this is not a prison issue per se, but really it falls in a national landscape because the citizens are hired here. And I have received great cooperation and assistance from the police service, even the minister and other agencies who are involved in bringing a quick resolution under my watch to some of these issues.
How is a prisoner able to call a hit outside the prison and get it done and walk about the prison with his hands swinging and patting himself on the back? How is he able to do that?
Prison officers are professionals. Are professionals. Why that was happening before, and what gives rise to this level of animosity now that we are seeing emanating from some corners of the prisons is because of the fact that they were moved from their level of freedom, from their level of criminality, and placed into an area where they are properly confined, supervised, because of the threat, risk they pose to the institution and to the public at large. So when we do that in the prison and locate them into an area where we could have some level of control, they are resistant. I am quite certain that you would have seen videos of inmates watching TV in the corridors and probably drinking alcohol. Under my watch, that's stopped. That is not going to happen. That is not what prisons are about. Prisons are a disciplined place where people are sent here for rehabilitation and to be rehabilitated, to re-enter the society. So I can't afford to have you doing criminality within my prison and then prepare you to send you outside of a prison to go and live in my society. So there's another way of looking at it. And once we start that approach, there are those individuals who see us, the prison service, as stopping their livelihood and controlling them. And these are individuals who don't like to be controlled, who are callously violent. I remember some of these same inmates when they have to go to court at the Port of Spain, magistrate courts and the Port of Spain High Court. The entire city of Port of Spain is locked down. There are police all over the place, blocking the streets. There are soldiers blocking the streets. So the problem here now is the prison officer have to deal with that. To deal with that aggression, deal with that criminality. Is it fair? I think not.
So there are gang leaders who are in jail and gang members who are in jail. How do you manage them? How do they assert themselves and operate in prison? And you mentioned that it has changed under your watch. Are they isolated and together now? But isolation is one thing, but if they are together, doesn't that make for a company, so to speak? That is to say, the capacity for collaboration among them?
Well, all I can say is that collaboration has always existed.
Yeah.
And always existed before. The gang outside, they have their own norms and patterns of behaviors. But in prison, it's about survival. So what you find, people who have a particular mindset will sort of pull together, gravitate towards each other, and create unions. Sometimes they do it out of the capacity to survive or the capacity to earn a living. Right? I know good young men who would have passed through the system and come back, and they would have joined gangs because they get a shelter of a gang. And we are doing what we can. We are doing separation as much as possible. And where some of these gang members are located now, they are into individual cells, and their control are being gradually eroded daily. They don't like this. They are reacting to this. This is one of the reasons why. Because according to the association, they have made a proclaim that, and I'm choosing association rules here, that 13 officers will fall if they don't be removed from a particular place. So the prison service will not be held hostage by criminals.
Yeah, so it's a kind of standoff situation and it's a power situation. Now, in that kind of situation, I'm going to ask you a hard question here, and I'm kind of preparing you for the hard question and giving you the freedom to answer or not answer as you wish. But is there any political interference in the prison system with these criminal elements?
Honestly, I do not think there are political interference because of the fact that I get a lot of political assistance in resolving some of this issue. And I will not say political in the sense of political. I have never seen that or observed that. Or I have never, my stewardship was never influenced by any politician whatsoever. But I have not observed that into it. It's just a matter of individuals who are trying to abuse the system and getting things done their way.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question now, and I'm going to break because we've got to break take a commercial break. But I'll ask you the question before so you can think about it. What percentage of prisoners turn out to be willing to just serve their time and to be rehabilitated, as opposed to these hardened criminals whose business is criminality and are just using their time there to continue their business? What percentage of prisoners turn out to be willing to serve their time and be rehabilitated? When we come back, we will examine that particular question. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, and I'm Bo Tiwari, and we are talking to the Commissioner of Prisons, Mr. Dennis Pulchan.
Welcome to Lifetime Solutions, where you can trust your roof to us. Our services include custom fabrication, steel framing, roofing installation, on-site roll forming, roofing maintenance and services. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com. Lifetime Solutions. You can trust your roof to us. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com.
As businesses adapt to the new normal, let Magic Mist take care of your cleaning and sanitization needs with our COVID-19 BSCAI internationally certified technicians. With over 43 years of protecting the health of our nation, you can trust us to ensure your building remains safe, healthy, and functional. Give us a call today at 638-6675 or 332-5522. Magic Mist Services Limited, your total facilities management solutions provider.
I am Boxer Potts, and you are?
I am the host of our talk. You refer to me as Mr. Zaid Mohammed.
Join us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on Hard Talk, Hard Facts, Hard Hitting, not politically soft like my brethren in this side here.
And that is old talk, not hard talk.
welcome back. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, and I'm Bo Tiwari, and we are talking to the Commissioner of Prisons this morning about a dreadful situation in which 28 of his officers have been murdered, and not a single person has been convicted for any one of the 28 murders, and only 4 cases have had charges brought against alleged perpetrators who are now in the remand yard. What do you think, why do you think that none of these murders have been solved? Why do you think that charges have not been brought against 28 set of perpetrators for these killings, and that only 4 have been brought, and that the matter is not being pursued? Because you're talking about a 10-year period, and these are public officers employed by the state for a public purpose.
Stuart, I don't want to superimpose my thinking on another state agency, but the police does have a responsibility to investigate.
I would think
And
so.
I wish I had that power, because I have investigators, and I wish I had that power to conduct investigation on my behalf on these people, and I would gladly do that. However, we don't have that power, and that power resides in the police service. I do not administrate, and I know the police service does have its challenges, and I can imagine that they will probably do all the best they can. But I really don't have an answer for that question, sir.
All right, I understand. I respect that. But given you've been there maybe 2 years, well, less than 2 years, but have you had enough time to assess the prison system, the structure of it, the pattern of behavior in it, the system that has emerged over time? And are you in a position to say what needs to be done to correct the system and bring it under reasonable control, management, and governance?
We have been, I think I'm in a position to do that. The first thing is the situation with the remanded inmates. Now, I'm not empathizing with them, but I do understand their plight. Anyone who is waiting 10 and 15 years to have their matter heard before the judiciary will develop some level of frustration. That level of frustration is going to be meted out against the first authority figure they see. Unfortunately, it's the prison officer who is the first authority figure that they see. They want to communicate with their families, they want to maintain some level of sanity. The prison officer is the one who tells them what to do. And these are individuals who really grew in a life that no one tells them what to do. As a matter of fact, they are the ones to tell people to pass your money and rob them. So now to have prison officers telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, they were going to rebel against that. So, and then there's no sight in mind, there's no horizon to say that their matter is going to be heard at a particular time. So a loss of hope. And when you have people with hopelessness, anger, and prison officers deal with them, it creates a problem. Now, my prison officers are trained to maintain security. We are not psychologists. We are not sociologists. We are not counselors. Now, one of the things I am looking at, that we need to partner with psychologists, sociologists, and other professionals who can do counseling. We need to start to affect the remand inmates' mindset. I have started injecting programs towards the remanded inmates because they are here for a long period of time and they are wasting away. So instead of having a mind waste away, we start to do things like adult literacy program. We start to do things like the religious groups. But COVID has put a damper on that. And you know what I notice? A lot of the inmates that comes into the prison, quite a few of them cannot read and write properly. So the adult literacy program was doing wonders for their self-esteem. So I'm looking at it from a humanitarian perspective. The prison service has evolved. I joined this job in 1983 when it was retributive, strictly retributive. We use force, we do what's necessary to get the job done, we feed and we warehouse. I have seen the evolution. From 2002, I have seen things like the task force report. We're looking at using the shared responsibility model in building prison, in getting society to work with the prison, getting reputable leaders to come into the prison and have discussion with inmates to show society cares. Because this is a group of people who really don't want care for them. We are looking at moving the prison away from prison towards correction. Because at the end of the day, when an individual understands that he would have committed an offense against the society and the state, and he would have, done a wrong or harm to an individual, the idea really was punishment. I am thinking, no, we should move away from that punishment thinking, but rather correction. Because some people do things because that is all they know. And they have never been exposed to a lifestyle or a thinking that will generate humanity within some of them. They grow in an area, they are socialized in a particular way, they see the criminality amongst them, and that is what shapes and influences their mindset. I am saying they are young men, and young men have impressionable minds. And if they are given an alternative to start thinking differently, seeing things differently, even the way they dress can shape and influence thought and action. So, in a holistic way, we need to have much more than security. The thinking many years ago was to lock him up, throw away the key, and leave him in jail. Or, and a famous quote is, jail was not made the right thing. But what society needs to understand is that these people who we have in the prison do eventually come back to their society. So our job is rehabilitation, and rehabilitation takes many, many forms. Even the infrastructure that is built in prison is age-old infrastructure. I have a prison in Canada that is built almost 200 years. For the Spain prison is built almost 100 years ago. And we have aging infrastructure that does not facilitate the mindset for rehabilitation. I can't tell you about rehabilitation as an inmate and tell you to behave yourself and conduct yourself properly when I have to lock you into a system that is could be considered inhumane in some instances. And my ideology is even though they are killing us, let us try the humane approach and treat them like human and change the thinking. Because if you change the mindset, you change the society. And that has been one of the provoking thoughts that I have been expressing with my seniors and juniors. We change the approach when we do things and see if we get a different result.
All right, but what percentage, you say you have a problem, which is that like 2/3 are in the remand yard, you have 1/3 in the prison system convicted. Among the prisoners who have been convicted and serving their time, is there a desire to be rehabilitated?
There is a desire to be rehabilitated. I have seen some very violent inmates, and I'm going to come to that now. A very violent inmate who I have observed, who was in the remand prison, turn a leaf, come across to he was convicted and served a sentence, and became a preacher while at the Golden Grove prison under my watch. And I was a junior officer at the time. And that gentleman went on to form Vision and a Mission. I have seen his violent side and have seen the transformation. And people do embrace the opportunity to change. Because if you put steadfastness in a person's life, you put balance, you put equality, you put hope in a person's life, that will inculcate an environment of change in the mindset. People will think beyond survival and think self-actualization. So really and truly, locking the body up is not a problem, but freeing the mind is the solution.
Yeah, I like how you put that. That's very good. And I mean, the remand yard situation is out of your control, Commissioner. I mean, that really is a consequence of the justice system that we have here. What I mean, I must have spoken about this in Parliament, I don't know, 5 or 6 times during the 5 years that I was an opposition member, and I've, raised the question before when I was a minister of this business of the remand yard, which is a system of injustice, really. Now, is there anything that can be done to solve this problem of getting, well, first of all, we have the detection problem where 28 people have been killed and they have not had, the detection rate is 4 out of 28 is what it is. And then the second thing is the extent of time in which people have to remain in the remand yard. So there's no justice for the society, there's no justice for the remand prisoner until the matter is heard, and it can take 8 years, 10 years, 5 years, etc. Ridiculous. I mean, there must be a solution to this. I mean, I can't believe that there is no solution to this. And I cannot understand how under successive attorney generals, how under the Chief Justice of Trinidad and Tobago, under successive national security ministers, we cannot solve this problem?
So I remember one person stating many years ago in a public forum that prisons don't win votes. So whatever that means, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, people send criminals to jail, law offenders to prison, and it boils down to somebody have to take care of them. We are that somebody, so the buck stop with us. My officers don't hate inmates. We operate at a level of passion because there are some inmates when they come in here, sometimes they have no family member to look for them. Sometimes my officers have sponsors, fathers, brothers. Sometimes my officers, they have no one to talk to. So a prison officer really is not about locking down our inmates. It's about treating a human being as a human being and giving them some level of humanity. Sometimes the first place they ever see humanity is in prison,
Commissioner, we come into the close of the discussion now, but is there one thing, if done immediately, that could make a decisive, positive difference in the effective management of the prison system and eliminate the execution of prison officers? Is there something that we can do? And it might not be one thing, it might be 2 or 3 things. I give you that freedom to address that.
Well, it's a combination of it. To start with, we need to solve those murders. Justice have to be seen. Officers have to develop that level of tenacity to do their job. Right now, my officers are all-time disenchanted, and quite rightly so, because they have seen their brother officers fallen, right? So I need law enforcement agencies, and they are, to a large extent, to step up the game, right? Or give us the opportunity to step up our game and take the fight to a different level. And I would like to see adequate funding. We are building a remand prison right now. In March of 2020, we had a riot in the remand prison where the inmates burned the remand prison, the southern wing of the remand prison. and we had to relocate them. So right now, government has spent $53 million to rebuild the remand prison, and that's a step in the right direction. And I'm hoping that we are putting infrastructure that meets United Nations standard. Might I say that the remand prison was really a cinema in 1942 for the Canadian soldiers. So what we have only one purpose-built prison in Trinidad, that is the maximum security prison. Some of our infrastructure need to be revisited. Dormitories, for example, needs to be placed out of the prison, so we have more control over officers, recalcitrant type officers. Because while I love my officers, at the end of the day, there are some who, for whatever reason, seek to bring in contraband in prison, and we are merciless in arresting them. But we will continue to arrest them if they continue to act that way. Bear in mind that some of our officers came from the same society of some of the gang leaders and gang members. Right? So there's some level of intimidation that can take place. It's a huge problem, it's a complex problem. It's one that requires all of government approach. And this is one of my idea of dealing with this problem. It requires all of government approach. So far, I'm seeing steps in that direction being taken. I'm happy to say that we have had the agencies supporting the prison service at this time. The Minister of National Security has pledged his support and is doing all he can. And we are at this junction right now. That's where we are right now, sir.
All right. I want to thank you very much, Commissioner, for talking with me this morning. I want to thank you for a very forthright and honest conversation in the context in which I know you operate under a lot of constraints, and you operate in a system that is larger than just the prison system, and there are limited matters under your control. I wish you well in your role as Commissioner of Prison, and I hope these murders of prison officers stop. And I think the Minister of National Security must intervene and ensure that these 28 murders of prison officers are pursued to the end, in which convictions are gotten for the perpetrators of these crimes, which means investigation and detection first. There are many unsolved murders in Trinidad and Tobago, but we could start with these 28. It's a limited number, and there are 24 for which there are no charges, and we could start with that. I want to thank you very much for being with me this morning.
Mr. Tiwari, if I may say one thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to thank all my officers who stand up and deliver their service daily. In spite of COVID, and might I say that the fight for COVID is a good one, because in the prison service, with 3,500 inmates, there are only 49 inmates who have COVID in the system, and my officers are the ones who are standing and taking the health care needs of these inmates. I want to thank them for that. I want to thank my officers for coming daily and getting their job done, despite the challenges that they are faced, despite the sentiments expressed by some members of society against prison officers. And I have a really good bunch of dedicated officers and senior officers. So at this point in time, I will say thank you, and I want to extend my condolence to the family of the two slain officers, and let them know that we are here with them. They are our family, and we will stand by you. I thank you very much, sir.
I join you in that sentiment. I really express my sincere condolences to the families of those officers who died in the line of duty. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, and we will see you tomorrow. My guests tomorrow are Dr. Pulchan, Scarrett, and we will talk about reading and literacy. And then my other guests are Ricardo Mohammed and Rampasad Siraj, members of the Confederation of Chambers from Sangre Grande and Siparia, respectively. We'll talk about business challenges and issues. Thank you for watching. This is Brighter Morning with Bo. We hand over now to the news